Hold on to your valuables. We got to stick up. We are here. We are here. Welcome back. It's your boy, the coach. Welcome back to the Coach's Huddle, where the field meets family. And we got another one. It's the neutral zone. And I got to be honest, man, we have switched up the direction of this show about 2 to 3 times within 48 hours, thinking that we were going to talk about the combine. I was all into like my Bill Nye the Science Guy. It's day 3 of combine here. Let's get it all going. You know, the 3-cone drill is really what you want to pay attention to. All of that. You know, we were going to get into tackles, which, you know, with the recent news still holds a lot of recency. But with the news that I did not see coming, Trent Williams has stolen the show again as far as offseason. Trent Williams is scheduled to carry a $39 million cap number this season. He and the 49ers currently are struggling to find a contractual solution per league sources. That was the leak from Adam Schefter. The timing was sinister. Sinister timing, Damon.
Very
sinister. I'm getting ready to hear John Lynch, you know, pontificate about what we got coming, and we'll get to that too.
Pontificate? Right? You mean GM speak about what we're going to be doing?
I mean, I'm going to tell you right
he's
now.
He's not going to.
I am sick of the happy-go-lucky demeanor from John Lynch. Like,
I want to see Red 47. Where the fuck is that? We've heard about him. I want to see the legend.
Enough of the smiles. Jesus. We get the news that Trent Williams is exercising his right to be an independent contractor. They call them the 1099ers for a reason.
Yep.
Okay? My God. So let's just get into what matters most. Trent Williams is exercising his right to have a conversation with the 49ers. There's so many ways that I want to unpack this. One is, who do you think initiated the conversation? Was it the 49ers, right? Did they come to Trent and say, hey, man, we're lighting the loafers, buddy. We're low on petrol, right? What you got on the snaps? We ain't got no gas money. We're low. Can you help us out? And they're just waiting for Trent to ask to say, you know, whether or not they want a pay cut, which this scenario, I'm just fleshing it out for those who, you know, want to get a 360 view of this. I don't believe any of this. 2, did this come from Trent Williams knowing that he's out of guaranteed money yet again? We've seen this before. Or 3, was this a situation where the Niners are completely, this is the elephant in the room for me. Why aren't they talking to Nick Bosa? Like, Trent's the one who played. Like, why isn't Nick Bosa being spoken to about him possibly taking an extension or a restructure or a pay cut? Like, come on, man. So, look, that's beside the point. Nobody wants to hear that narrative. First of all,
I actually have a
how
thought
are you? How are you, Damon? And just give me your initial thoughts on what were your initial thoughts on the news with Trent Williams and the 49ers.
First of all, I am excellent. As you know, I am a data analytics nerd, so the offseason is just some of my favorite time of year. I also want to just take a second to thank you. I don't probably do this often enough for giving me this platform and opportunity to talk about the 49ers. I got another video dropped Monday. I have a whole series of 10 videos coming out that are all about the offseason. And we're taking the Niner narrative to another level this offseason. So, and none of that would have happened without you, and not just because you're helping me by putting me on this platform, but because behind the scenes, what nobody else sees is all the encouragement and all the help that you give me free. And there's no expecting something back in return. You are a real one and to the fullest extent. And so I just want to make sure that everybody is totally fucking clear about that. I appreciate
Thank you, man. Thank you. And I not only thank you, but I feel compelled to say this. There are a lot of other people who reach out to me and want to be a part of the platform and they want to do shows. And I want to say this from the bottom of my heart. I wish that I could get back to all of you. And it is this is a good problem to have, but it's not just one, it's not just two, it's not just 10. There are a lot of supporters that follow the platform and they want to be a part of the show. And I just haven't found a healthy way how to respond and not be a bullshitter with what I can really do and how I can really help and how I can have a real conversation with all of you. And I am glad that Damon brought this up because it's not because I don't want to be connected to supporters of my platform, supporters of the Niners, really. It's not even me. I'm just a conduit. I'm just a middleman, right? Just supporters of just a good time in the community that we've built. But I don't have the time. And I know the type of person I am. The reason why I don't coach anymore is because I understood that the work-life balance and how I'm addicted to this, I will do it for free. So I will get leveraged because I can't protect myself. So I'll be on the phone until 3 a.m. talking to you about your thumbnails, what your title should look like. Like, I will do it. And I will also come back to bed and my girl will be looking at me like, nigga, you are
crazy.
You got to work tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I got a little bit of an issue on prioritizing my passion and my effort, but I don't want anybody to feel as though that, man, I reached out to coach and coach didn't get back to me. And please, man, charge it to my head and not my heart. It's just I haven't found a good process yet on how to incorporate everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's just where we at, man. So, all right, go ahead, bro.
So anybody that hasn't gone over there, Niner Narrative on you, just type in Niner Narrative, it'll pop up. Any help you subs, likes, please, y'all. I'm trying to get this thing going so I can bring a whole context. That's the whole point of the platform. I'm trying to bring context to the conversation, to the narrative around the 49ers. So moving on with what's going on with the team right now, you asked me where I think it's coming from. Because clearly it's either the 49ers want this information out or Trent wants it out. It didn't just randomly leak out. I think that it most likely came from Trent's camp. I think this is probably a preemptive strike from Trent at a time where media visibility is high to make sure the 49ers know that he knows there's no more guaranteed money on his contract. And that when the 49ers, when Trent plays, their statistics are so much different than when he doesn't play. The 49ers are 61-32 with a winning percentage of 656 when he plays. It plummets to 4-13 when he doesn't play. 235 winning percentage. And in the last 5 games that he missed, they went 0-5. In 2024, he was limited to 10 games. They went 1-6 in the 7 games that he missed. Over the last 7-5. Last 12 games missed, the 49ers are 1-11 without him. He has all the leverage, except he is 38 years old. How much does that hurt his leverage, Coach?
There's two.
He did get another second team All-Pro, so it's not like you can say he sucks.
No. That's not. I don't think chopping Trent down as a player is the conversation. I don't think that's the conversation. Because then you start looking like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah.
You can't tout him for there's a reason why he's due $38 million, right? So you can't pay him that type of money and then start chipping away at what you don't think he is. We understand that Trent isn't in his elite prime, but 80% of Trent's prime is pretty much top 2 to 3 left tackles in the league. And if you really don't believe it, just put your money where your mouth is, where Trent is the number 2 highest paid left tackle in the league at $27.5 per. And the only guy that's above him is Rashawn Slater at $28.5 million a year. So we already understand that, we're not going to start chopping Trent down just to make our point. With that said, there is a world where we have to figure out what to do after him, after Trent, right? And he's smart, right? He did this in 2024. We acquired him from the Washington Commanders at the time, the Redskins, but the Commanders, whatever. Got them from Washington, brought him over. And the way that it happened was really slick for the Niners, If you remember at the time, Joe Staley was all but retired, but leaving it wide open that he could come back. The Niners were putting that news out there that, hey, Joe's coming back. We expect him to come back. And he didn't really announce his retirement until after we got the trade done to acquire Trent. Now, for me, there is a world where we could just go ahead and give him a 2+1 void year, right? Give him a 3-year deal with an out on the third, and just keep it pushing, right? Pay him what he is, pay him what he's worth, and keep it moving. I tend to believe that that's the way that they might go. I'm just going off of what's in front of me, not off of what I feel. And what's in front of me is that John Lynch spoke at the Combine. And what he had to say about the offensive line and in the offseason about the offensive line is nothing but glowing reviews. Jake Brindle included, saying that Jake Brindle is playing solid football. Dominic Pooney, they feel like they got a solid find with him. Colton McKivitz is a guy that really earned his money, and they really believe that, the development that they have in Colton McKivitz, he's like a keystone player for them. I just see them trying to get this done. His demeanor at the Combine didn't seem too worried about it. I will say that this is what they could do. They could go ahead and draft his heir apparent and put him behind Trent for a year, right? That's got Monroe Freeling written all over it. Where you can get a guy who's ready to play, but immediately it would be tough sledding for him. You give him a year in your system, which is what the Niners would love to do with all rookies if they could. You sit him down for a year. You get him acclimated into the system. He gets to understand how to get his NFL body. Monroe Freeling's about 6'7", about 315. If you see his frame, he's young. He's only 21 years old, out of the University of Georgia. He's got very quick and light feet, strong hands, conscientious guy, very athletic in space, like rare athleticism to be 6'7". You would think that a guy like him is kind of like lumbering, but he's quick. He's got good hips. But at 6'7", 315, he could stand to gain about 15 pounds.
That's right.
At the very least.
And a little bit of that NFL body they talk about.
He could put that on easy, and it would still look good. Give him a look. He's a beautiful looking tackle. Great stance, beautiful square shoulders, good good eyes. But he's just not ready. And he would be a guy that for teams that would need a left tackle to start right away, they may not pick him. He may slip to 27. You pick him up and sit him down for a year and figure out what you're going to do at left guard later. I kind of feel like that's the safe route, and maybe that'll be what the Niners do. What do you think?
Well, I think there's another option that they might do that might even be safer, and they can do it in the second round. I think if you go get a guy like Jennings Dunker, who has the requisite size and arm length and everything else to play tackle, but at 6'5", 320, well, 315, 320, he actually has good size to play guard as well. you could get Jennings Dunker, plug him into the left guard because he played on the right side a lot. So you're giving him a year next to Trent to learn that side of the offensive line. And when Trent is done, he just slides out and takes that spot at the left tackle.
Let's get to some super chats. We got a couple of them. Right here, Blue Bronco 48. Am I selling my Trent Williams jersey?
It's not a 0% chance.
I don't know, man. Like, all right, okay. This is YouTube, bro. You know, we're not in the building. We don't have to be so shrewd
right.
with our perspective. We can play around a little bit, right? We could trip the lights fantastic. So let's think a little bit. When are we going to move on? When are we going to build the offensive line? They get away with murder at kind of piecing together the positions on the line because of what they pay for in Trent Williams, right? And I understand that, you know, Trent Williams is one of one. I get that. And as far as filling his shoes, right? Filling Trent Williams' shoes, there is no conversation for filling a Hall of Fame player
exactly
of Trent
right.
Williams caliber. Like there is no real, you cannot replace a Gary Bertier, right? Like, come on,
exactly
man.
Exactly right.
Come on, man. Let's get your Remember the Titans on. So my thing about that is that, all right, Trent at 80%, there's a delta between what we still need. Now, if I understand out of respect for the caliber of player, we want to preserve what we have in Trent Williams. But at the same time, you cannot tell me that you watched the season and thought that Trent Williams was 100% on top of his job at all times. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that a part of that run game not being good is Trent Williams not being able to root out guys from that tackle position or be able to reach guys who have enough speed to stop that outside. It wasn't all receivers not blocking, man. You know, Trent Williams was second team All-Pro for a reason because there were some things.
Back. Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. So, you know, and that's not, I don't think that's being disrespectful. I think that's being realistic on where we stand. Now, if you went out and got somebody in the first round, like if you went out and got a Lomu, right? Or if you went out and got a Freeling and said, hey, you know, we played games with Austin Pleasance at left tackle. We've moved on and played games with George Kittle out and had to play requisite backups at tight end. We've moved on without Brandon Ayuk and rode it out with Ricky Pearsall and made it happen with Kendrick Bourne. Why not put a rookie out there and ride it out? Another thing that really kills me is that there's only one plan. I really get pissed off when people say, well, the Niners don't really have a plan to replace Trent. You do have a plan. You draft the guy and you play him. That's the plan.
That's right.
Like, how I don't understand how intricate you have to be with getting a left tackle. It's like they don't really have a plan. What was the plan to replace Joe Staley? What was the plan? Come on. Fly by the seat of our pants.
Fall in their lap, yeah.
Come on, man. So there is one thing that I do want to dispel is that when people say there's no plan, you know, we don't, you know, the 49ers really haven't, they're behind the eight ball because they really haven't put a plan together to replace Trent Williams. Dog, there is no plan. All right, week 1, right? Who do we got week 1? Who's the schedule? Where's the schedule? Who do we got? I don't care. Let's say we got Seattle week 1, all right? Week 1, play 1. Trent Williams goes down. What's the plan? The backup. He's playing. That's the plan. Okay, so let's stop acting like if we move on from Trent, well, what's the plan? The Niners are going to get a left tackle in the first round. That's the plan.
Yep.
What are we going to do to back him up? The Niners are going to get a backup.
I almost want Trent to force the issue and put the 49ers in a position where they have to recalibrate their draft strategy and focus on the offensive line. Like, I almost hope that he forces them to have to go offensive line heavy in the draft because they really don't know if they'll be able to keep him this year. And then hopefully they still figure it out, and that's even better for everybody. But there's a chance here that Trent Williams doing what he's doing right now could be a blessing in disguise. Maybe not for the 49ers, but certainly for the fans, because we might finally see them address the offensive line.
I'm going to get to the next super chat, but I want you to answer this as well, because this is annoying me. Why do you think they won't approach Nick Bosa?
To lower his contract number, or do you mean like to move on? They're going to restructure his deal. He's not going to play at $42 million cap hit this year.
I think they're going to pay him. You think they're going to pay him 42?
Well, okay. If they don't restructure his deal this offseason, it's because it's his last year with the team. However, I think that they will restructure it. And I think one of the reasons they will restructure it is just like Trent Williams. When you look at the numbers of when he plays and when he doesn't, the impact that he has, not just with pressures, not just with his ability to affect quarterbacks and run games for the opposing team, but because of the gravity that he has when he's on the field and the amount of pressure he takes off the guys around him. He is the entire focus of the offensive line for the other team. So I don't think the 49ers are going to move on from him yet. We're in a position where we can afford to absorb the $42 million cap hit. But I think if they don't restructure him, that's an indicator that that this is his last year with the team.
Yeah, I don't know. I just when you see that Nick Bosa isn't being asked to take a pay cut or restructure, and honestly, this may even be the wrong framing of the question, because really, if you would think that Trent approached the Niners, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? So Trent approached the Niners saying, like, hey, listen, I got no more guaranteed money left. I'm not going to be a lame duck guy. And you got the draft coming up, and I want to get a restructured deal or put me in free agency, make a move, and I'm hijacking your first round pick. So whatever ideas you had at the first round pick, scratch that shit.
Because it's going to be a tackle.
Because it's going to be a tackle. You know what I'm saying? And to boot, this is shrewd business, boy. He be coordinating, man.
Bro, the man knows how to operate.
This is shrewd business.
Well, the secret is you got to coordinate. Most people don't coordinate. So you got to coordinate.
Yes, that's what you did.
He be coordinating, man. Trent is coordinating. Because also, you know what else leans in his favor as well?
What's that?
The free agency sucks, bro.
No left tackle.
He is the number one free agent. If Trent Williams come in free agency right now, you got Tyreek Hill, Trey Hendrickson, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Trevon Diggs, Khalil Mack, Christian Kirk. Come on, this is just embarrassing. It's Trent Williams. And Trent Williams goes on to the market.
Still would be because of the age.
No, you're tripping.
I think he might still be the number one. Yeah.
Dog, stop.
But he's not going anywhere. The Ravens aren't going to let him go anywhere.
Stop, dude. Stop it. I don't even care if Linderbaum was out there with free booties. Like, I'll play for free. Trent Williams is a left tackle, bro.
That's fair. Yeah,
you're right. You tell me the last time a premier
center was over
Hall of Famer left tackle went on to free agency and put himself out to the highest bidder. True. That's man. The equivalent of everybody who says. Dude, the equivalency of Trent Williams going on to free agency would be Kyle Shanahan getting fired tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
He's hired in 48 hours.
Immediately.
You know what I'm saying? So the Niners put themselves in this position. How do you feel about that?
Okay. This is the thing I really wanted to get to, because this is another indicator. This is another piece of evidence that just further identifies how bad the 49ers process is. I don't think the 49ers are bad at assessing talent. I don't think that they're bad at developing talent. I think their process is one of the worst processes in the league as far as how they go about it. They don't ever seem to know the value of the players as far as where they're going to be drafted. They wait on guys that they shouldn't, and then they jump up to get guys that we find out after the fact nobody had them ranked that high. They don't seem to have it. And then the way that they went about oh my goodness, the quarterback, Trey Lance. The way they went about that whole process, I loved that they went with Trey Lance instead of Mac Jones. It didn't turn out to work, but that's who I wanted them to take. It doesn't change the fact that the process that they went about getting that pick and making that pick, it's one of the worst processes I've ever seen a team make. I can't figure out why they don't seem to see the gaps in their process that people like you and Jesse and Grant and Larry Kruger, everybody can see. Everybody that knows even this much football can see the gaps in the process. And they I don't know. It's infuriating. The 49ers are getting ready to lose a lifelong fan because I don't know if I can stand it anymore. It is. I'm that fed up with the 49ers acting like they know better. They can do it. It's infuriating. It is infuriating. Yeah. You're not wrong.
Stop this. Stop this right now.
This is going to pass in 48 hours, I'm sure, but it's...
Look. Losing a fan, my G. Yeah, cut it out. Look. One thing that you will never get over living in America is arguing as a regular person about the stupid decisions that rich people make. Like, that's half of our life. Looking at these stupid rich motherfuckers and saying, like, dude, if I was in that position, this is what I would do. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, they ain't really gonna understand it. Really, they don't really see the trajectories on how I'm really giving up the isosceles. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. Like, all this is not understanding that they can't make simple decisions because it's nuanced, right? And if it was as easy as by making it binary, just, literally counting the ones and zeros and making the decision with absolutely no feel and no emotion or context behind what these decisions can do, not only now, but in the future, forecasting, right? Then that's where kind of like, that's where the real meat is, pause. That's where the conversation is. And I think that the real conversation is whether or not the Niners are ready to revamp their offensive line. Moving on from Trent Williams doesn't just mean replacing him. That means that you're going to have to get a guard that can start next to that rookie left tackle, right? You can't Spencer Burford that position, right? You got to be able to bring in a comparable guard at the left guard position. Yeah, there you go. And for shits and gigs, guess what? If you're going to do that, then you might as well get in somebody to compete at center. Right. Yeah. So Trent leaving isn't just replacing his position. Him leaving would be a stance really from the organization that we're moving in another direction with the offensive line. Not only just moving away from Trent, but moving in another direction. So I don't know. I tend to believe that they always go back to what they know. They're going to keep him. They're going to pay him his money. It's going to happen again. Yep. They should not, dude, when he did this in 2024, when he missed all of camp and they caved then, I wouldn't have did it.
Yep.
I wouldn't have did it. And that was the year where we had all of those goddamn offensive linemen in that draft. That was a phenomenal loaded draft. He did it again.
Year to do it.
That was the year. So he's doing it again. It's no coincidence that the leak probably came from his representation, right? And not only did it come from his representation, but they made it happen literally hours before John Lynch was going to speak for the press. So they wanted him to be able to speak about how
That's right.
how this laid out. I believe it masterfully, Trent. Game respects game, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
bravo. All right. Nobody ever said that he didn't handle things for. I mean,
might have
he
been
wasn't
Trent
good at
that
effect.
made that call to Adam Schefter. You never know. It could have been Trent that made that call.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing right now is Trent wants guaranteed money. And he's not feeling playing on a deal without guaranteed money. And Jed and those boys are going to have to come out of pocket because he wants his money straight up. He don't want it in contingencies. He doesn't want it in guarantee. He doesn't want it in incentives. He wants it in guarantees. So, straight cash, homie. So do you think they're going to pay him that 38? You think they're going to split it down, give him a 2+1 and void 1 year with a 1 year voided deal? What is the net? How do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, they're going to do one of two things. They're either just going to restructure it and kick some money down the road and give him some guaranteed money this year. That is if they think that this is on its last leg and they're going to have to look to replace him next year one way or another. They may just restructure it, kick a little money down the road to make him happy so he plays this year and then deal with the tackle position next year. Or they could add a year to the deal and use that to help restructure and move some money around to give him some guaranteed money this year. I think that's the more likely of the two scenarios. Either way, this chicken is going to come home to roost as far as all this void money that he has down the line. I don't think he's going in. I'd put it probably 80-20 that he stays, maybe 85-15.
Yeah, John. They said that it was in their court. The ball was in. John said that the ball was in their court to get it done. That they were going to make sure that they look at all the possibilities on how this was going to move forward. So it looks like they're just trying to figure out how to get it done. This is one thing that really kills me is that we do have flexibility. We do have room with the cap, and we took on over $80 million in dead cap money this past season. I believe we were ranked at least top 2, if not 3, in the NFL for dead cap money. And right when you think that we're going to have some money to spend, and we're just getting another gut punch from Trent where he's literally looking at his deals and saying, all right, look, I understand that you signed me for 3, but if only 2 of that's guaranteed, I'm going to come knocking. He did this right after the Super Bowl. So really, look, man. I'm about to keep it 1,000. I usually keep it 100 on here, but should I keep it 1,000, bruh?
Yep.
All right, man. So I understand that Trent is, he's an independent contractor. Go get your money, bro. Do what you got to do. But it's low key selfish. It really is. It comes from a standpoint of you kind of like gutting out the salary cap. You're never really playing into the part of the deal that rewards the franchise or rewards the team for giving you all of that money up front, right? That's the part of being a good businessman or not even a good businessman, but a good business relationship where there's parts of the deal where you're able to get your cream, you get your win off up front, and then on the back end is when it's time for me to utilize my advantages of the deal because I gave you what you needed up front, right? That's how the deals work. And, this is the reason why I don't like this is that you'll never see another setup like what Kyle Shanahan has done with the 49ers again in other franchises where the head coach gets final say in word. Like these situations is what happens when the head coach likes players a lot and there's no medium in between Kyle and Trent. So when these deals get done and Trent is playing hardball with the organization vis-a-vis Parag Marat and Kyle gets a call from Trent Williams like, hey man, you better come on and tell them to come up with this last 1 point whatever, because I'm about to get out of here and be on a plane over here to Kansas City. And Kyle has to call in to get Trent paid. Like, listen, there's collateral damage with that. I understand that in the history of things, the headline is, man, that sure as hell was a close one, but we got Trent. But you don't understand the people that get jilted, get overrode, they get slighted from the organization that are like, all right, this is your guy. But at the same time, we were trying to handle a negotiation where we completely got the rug pulled out from under us, presumably because of you guys' relationship. Now we're starting to see how those deals are biting us in the ass in the future, where Trent is leveraged, right? He has leveraged the 49ers, where
that's right.
His deals lay right in a position where he can essentially just walk out on us and leave us high and dry, unless we have the courage of our convictions to say, okay, well, you can leave and we deserve to be in this position. But what we won't do is live on our knees. All right, we're at least gonna die on our feet. So you can go do what you need to do, and then we'll actually right the wrong, go get a left tackle who's actually going to deal with his contracts through a traditional structure in a franchise, where you're gonna have to deal with not just the GM, but the guy in our organization, which is Parag. This is why we're dealing with this, honestly. I understand people are bringing this up. I don't want to hijack the take, right? I'm not the only one who's thought about this, but it does need to be highlighted that part of this is because of Trent Williams basically bullying the Niners into giving him more guaranteed money when they were in no position to, and they didn't have to, but some of the wheels of progression got greased because of Kyle. So this is why you're not the precedent of having a coach that comes in and says, you know what? I want to be final say, dude. Not only do I want to coach the team, I want to pick the players, I want to hire the GM, I want to handle contract negotiations, I want to make sure my certain guys get paid, I want to handle free agency, I want to be final say and word on everything. This situation right here is a fucking case study for why you should not do that shit. Because friends, man, personal stuff. And what happens is you get leveraged.
Yeah, it's that simple. He's gotten leveraged. I think there was a couple more super chats. I didn't know if you wanted to get back to
we're going to get to them.
Yeah, we just kind of...
Let's get to the rest of them.
I feel like I got us off track. I didn't mean to.
No, not at all. Not at all. Coach, what's up, Chunder? Love seeing all the content. Keep it coming. You know we love seeing the off-season chatter. Thank you, Red 47. Bill Wagner, FS1 admin. Should we start Austin Pleasance? No. And are we gonna find a starter at 27 that's half as good as Trent? Maybe. Are we gonna find one as good as him? No. Right? No. We're gonna have to live that life moving on. But there's a crazy thing called football, and we gotta play it. It is what it is, bro. We don't get to be in the best position that we get to ease into the pool and dip our toes in to make sure the temperature's right. Like, sometimes you just have to play. And honestly, there's instances during this past season where that served us well. We actually had to play rookies. Like, don't get me started. So, thank you. I don't think we should start Austin Pleasance. Too much sauce 33. Austin Pleasance is the successor for Trent. Please stop. Too much sauce 33. The Dow is above 50K. The 49ers will be fine. The Dow is over 50,000 points.
He's not wrong.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. It's not over 50 anymore. It was a record. It was a record. Yo, did you watch State of the Union last night?
Of course.
That's all I gotta say. That's 187. If they had to just draft worse over Kinlaw, they'd have a Trent replacement on the roster. Also, they've had years to prepare for Trent replacement and done nothing. True, right? It's almost like they went out, bought a Bentley, didn't have that much money, and they're scared as hell of the oil changes. That's it. They bought the Bentley. Bank account done. We can't do shit else. Like, that's all.
That's right.
Like, That's it.
It costs
Shit,
how
nigga,
much to service the transmission? Nah,
we ain't doing that. We taking this shit to Jiffy Lube, dog. There ain't no way we doing this. We just gonna sit it down for a while, let it fix itself. So that's really what it is. We bought them on some cheap shit. It was an impulse buy, if you will. Suki Smooth Smithers, John don't know shit. Dude is BS. It's Kyle and Jed. I don't know, man. John also seems like, I don't know. He seems like he's on the way out, man. He just, I don't know. The overarching theme that I got from John Lynch in the combine, just as far as attitude is concerned, is he just seems so satisfied. He seems like just, you would have thought we won the Super Bowl. His demeanor was completely cool, dog. What do you have to say about that?
So as far as John Lynch goes, this is a narrative I've never totally understood. The way, as far as reading the tea leaves with the reporting goes, it seems as though, especially early on, Kyle was responsible for like all the picks, like in the top 100, first, second, and some of the third round picks. And then John and his staff are kind of responsible after that. Like Kyle kind of gets out of the way. And if you look at the track record of the team and where they pick well, I don't understand how we got to this narrative of John Lynch sucks at drafting and John Lynch terrible GM when it's been pretty clear that most of the process errors and most of that stuff, it should land on Kyle, not John. Now, I'm not saying that makes John awesome, but I don't know that there's good information that says John's not good at his job. I may be biased.
You my dog.
I really like John Lynch, so I could just be biased.
You my guy. You're my guy.
Always, brother.
Are you out of your fucking mind? Dude, are you? Damon! You can't say, I like John, but you can't say that about John. John and the draft track alone it's iffy, man. It's iffy. You gotta look at the draft. You have to look at what he's done in the first round. All right, you have to look at the development of players, what we've done in free agencies to acquire certain guys. John has done some amazing things, especially at being a part of the later drafts. I mean, the later rounds in the draft with the picks. All of those things are great about John. Even the cachet that he has being called around the league, people will pick up the phone for John Lynch. His reputation is class personified. But let's be clear. John Lynch is a GM for the 49ers and the 49ers only. He is a picked hire from Kyle Shanahan. If John Lynch was to leave the 49ers today, who would hire him? He would go right back to television, Damon. Probably. He's not what you would say in the game as far as being a respected GM around the league. He's a respected GM because of the place he holds, because of his cachet, because of the man. I respect John Lynch, but we can find a better GM than John Lynch. You can't sit here and say, I just don't understand the pushback on John Lynch. And I like John, but there's been a lot of things. The first round picks alone, the draft picks alone.
Aren't those on Kyle, not John?
No,
it's been said
John's in charge of the draft.
No, Kyle's the one that makes the first round picks. That's been reported a bunch of times. Now, if I'm wrong on that, then obviously that would change my opinion. I've been under the impression that, and this has been talked about, even Kyle and John have talked about this. Basically, Kyle takes the front of the draft after the first and second round. He opens it up to everybody else, and they basically vote on shit. And the back at day 3 is basically just John and his staff. Kyle's not even in the room half the time. That's all been reported on. And so now, if I have that incorrectly, that kind of really, but that's the information I'm basing it on. That's why I don't understand why John gets so much more criticism than Kyle, because the majority of the bad process and the terrible, terrible picks and misses are on Kyle. The Jake Moody thing, that was Kyle did that, not John. Trey Lance, that whole process of when they moved up and how they went about that was how Kyle wanted to do it, not John.
How do you know that?
It was reported on And both Kyle and John have talked about how the process goes. They've hinted at it at times, but they've both outright said in different ways that Kyle's in charge, especially at the beginning of the draft. He's the one who picks those players at the top of the draft. Those are his picks.
Dog, John Lynch is in charge of developing and getting together the draft picks and selecting draft guys. That's John Lynch, man. Kyle comes in with the guys that he wants, but the selections, the guys that get put in front of everybody, that's John. That's all John. Getting guys the deals, all right, before all of the stuff that Kyle comes in and swoops in at the very end. All of these deals that we put together, all right, the Deebo Samuel deal, all right, the Brandon Ayuk deal, all of that. That's John. That's him, bro.
Like I said, the information I've been, there's not a lot of information over the last couple of years, but especially early on in this tenure, first 2-3 years, this wasn't like this was the worst kept secret in all of football, was that Kyle is the one who makes the early round picks. And then he opens it up and it's collaborative, and John kind of Kyle literally had a press conference where he said he was barely even there for the day 3 picks. He was barely in the room.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you that.
He's never not been in the room on day 1 and day 2 because those are his picks.
So you're under the impression that John Lynch is only in charge of day 3 picks, that John Lynch is only in charge of day 3 picks. It has nothing to do with the first round picks.
No,
the first and second round picks.
No, I'm talking about weighted. Okay, Kyle has more say in the early picks, first, second, third round, than and he kind of gives that responsibility to John in like late third and then into the day 3. Kyle is the one who's in charge pretty much of all the picks, but he only uses that authority in the first 50 draft picks or whatever. The concept of John being in charge of the 90 and Kyle being in charge of the 53, that is how it's done standard in almost every GM coach contract in the league. The GM does the 90, the coach does the 53. The GM doesn't go down and cut the players for the 53-man roster on almost any team in football. This is one of the only franchises that does it different than everybody else, where the head coach is actually in charge of the 90.
All right, so let me float something to you. All right, sometimes the truth is just staring you right in the face. You yourself has said that Kyle has reported that he doesn't even hang around for day 3, right?
That one, I'm talking about just that one draft when he said that, like he didn't
right,
even.
Let's just say hypothetically that's what we believe to be true on a consistent basis. That Kyle, let's go with what your narrative is. Kyle comes in, he picks probably the first, second, and third round. He kind of leaves for the 4th, 6th, whatever's going on in the trash rounds, all of the multiple picks that we have down, and Kyle doesn't have anything to do with that, right?
He's just kind of not as involved. Let's other people, involved. Yeah.
All right. So, number one, that means that Kyle is involved enough to know the type of players that he wants in the first round, but he's not involved enough to care about the type of players that are on the team in the later rounds as far as depth is concerned, right? Meaning as though, hold on, let me just finish. Mm-hmm. Meaning that Kyle has gone through, looked at certain guys, understood who they are, and says, you know what? You guys can pick the rest of those guys. I just want to pick the top 3 guys. I don't think that's true. What it sounds like to me is, knowing what they're doing in the offseason, Kyle is making the pick. But ultimately, it is on John, because Kyle himself is not going out and scouting players. Kyle is not going to go find his player. Kyle's not looking at the draft and saying, oh, this is the top 50 players of the draft. Let me go ahead and sit down and look at all 50. I wish he was the coach like that. I don't think Kyle does that. Because you know what? if that was the truth, he would have saw Patrick Mahomes. Okay? If he would have just did what regular obsessed red American coaches do, which is obsess over the draft to the point where the least you could do, you make $14 million a year. The least you can do is crack open a bottle of your latest bourbon, get a cigar, and watch 300 guys play football. How hard can that be? All right? Take a couple of piss breaks. Get a hoagie. But at least watch what the draft is bringing in so you can at least say, I have with my own eyes seen the top at least 100 guys. But Kyle doesn't do that. He delegates to the things that he doesn't necessarily think matter to him, which is, I don't need to go scout guys. I don't need to go put my hands on guys. Bring me a list. Bring me a catalog. I'm looking for a quarterback. Bring me quarterbacks. I'm looking for a receiver. Bring me receivers. Give me a list of the best of what I can pick from, and then we'll all go in on the guys that I like, and then we curate that list down. Then we get into a room, and then that's the pick that we make. That list, that process, that bevy of players that Kyle gets put in front of him, that's all John. That's all John. Okay? So I understand that in your position, you're looking from a position of literally it's the day of the draft. The clock is started. Who's literally saying the name and putting it out? Who's the guy that's saying, I want this guy? And that's Kyle. Cool. It could be Kyle all you want. But what I'm saying is that Kyle doesn't even know the cuisine he's eating unless John cooks it up.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's why Kyle didn't even know about Patrick Mahomes, because he didn't go do the due diligence himself.
John told Kyle about Patrick Mahomes. He brought Patrick Mahomes to him.
There you go. And that's even worse. Because he told him about him and he still didn't go look.
Yeah.
All right? We got Danny Gray because Kyle ran into his coach
some guy at a bar. That's
Cabo.
Exactly what I mean.
That's not satire. That's not hyperbole, bro. That really happened.
And that's Kyle, not John.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just telling that anecdote to just highlight how he ain't really on top of everything the way you say he is.
No,
and
I'm not saying
even
he's on top
saying
of
that the first round picks, are Kyle. Kyle's the one that puts him in. He's the one that he doesn't even hang around for the end of the draft. Yeah, he only knows the top three drafts, picks in the draft over the people that you put in front of him. That's it.
So
and I believe, I believe that he is enabled by John Lynch.
Yep.
I believe that just because Kyle hired John, there's nobody in there that can really get to Kyle and say, I don't think that this is a good idea. I don't think we should draft a kicker in the third round, Kyle. Just call me crazy. I don't think it's a good idea. So it's not on Kyle. It's on John's got to get out of here, bro. Because, all right, even if you want to blame Kyle, right? If the head coach on a team continuously kept making bad picks in the draft, at the very least, who needs to be fired?
Jed York. For
the GM.
For allowing that shit in the first place. But yeah, you're totally right. You can't correct. I think the point you're trying to make is this situation can't be corrected while John's still in the building. Because whether it's John's fault or Kyle's fault, John is either coaching it or letting it happen. I think
he exacerbates it.
Yeah. He's either coaching it or letting it happen, kind of a situation. And you make a really good point about Kyle is curating his picks in the first couple rounds off of lists that are brought to him from John, which is a terrific point. I think that the reason Kyle is less involved in the later rounds is because he spends all of his time on like 50 or 60 guys and doesn't spend any time on the later round guys. I think some of it is arrogance. He's like, listen, I don't even know if these guys are going to make the team. I'm not about to spend a lot of time on somebody that we might take in the 6th round because I don't even think that motherfucker is going to make the team. It goes back to the same mentality we used when we took a fucking kicker. because we don't think the other guys are going to make the team. So he doesn't put any time and effort into it. That's why it's Kyle initially, because Kyle combs through all the guys at the top of the draft and spends no time on the guys in the back of the draft. And if somebody does bring someone to him, like, hey, I know this guy's not part of your plan. I know this guy's not who you have planned to look at this year, but you really should take a look at this guy. And he doesn't. That's terrible process.
Yeah. I love this point right here. If the coaching was bad, it would be on Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, would you say, presently stated, just GM responsibilities, right? Generally speaking, what they do, is John doing what he's supposed to do as a GM? Because this entire situation, this entire conversation kind of shifted into a John situation because you were defending him based off of a super chat. So is John a good GM?
Yes. There are better GMs, but he's an above average GM. There's probably
you think he's an above average GM?
Yeah, there's probably 6 or 8 guys. I mean, off the top of your head, you could say are clearly better, but he's probably in that, I don't know, 10 to 15 range as far as how good he is as a GM. Above average.
Give me your top 3 reasons why you would think John Lynch is a good GM.
Well, one of the primary responsibilities of any GM, but especially in this organization, is the day-to-day operation. And this team has absolutely no issues when it comes to logistical operation and things like that. Zero. He is extremely effective as a leader of a huge team of people and running the day-to-day operation of the 49ers. Everybody raves about everything from cafeteria stuff to the way I have apparel stuck in my head. Uniform, equipment, the equipment guys, right? Like everything in the building works extremely well. When players come in from other teams, they have talked about in the past how good the organization runs. That's the general manager that's responsible for that. Number 2, the amount of collaboration that they all talk about having and how little gets out the building. Everybody leaks, but these guys leak less than any team I've seen in quite a while. They do not leak a lot of information. So that goes to not just building an organization with people that are solid people of integrity that you actually can collaborate with without stuff getting out everywhere, right? Those are all the kind of things I'd point to. The fact that there's been 4 general managers hired off of this front office staff. That's another ballpark, another cap in John Lynch's or another feather in John Lynch's cap. So there's a lot of things that you can point to. I think that people crushing John Lynch as a bad GM because of bad draft picks that are probably more on Kyle than on him. I'm not saying he's not involved in the process. I'm not saying that he hasn't made mistakes or anything like that. I'm saying that the draft pick issues to me fall more on Kyle than they do on John, though they're both clearly responsible.
I just think the biggest issue that I have with John is kind of the foundational pieces that you need from a GM, which is a separation of duties. One of the best things about having a general manager is he's a pressure valve for all of the infrastructure and clerical business that happens on a football team that inundates coaching staffs, that gets in the way, the red tape. That's what the GM is there for. Mm-hmm. How good has John done at getting rid of the red tape? How good is John done at making sure that contracts with players don't involve the coaching staff? How good is John
at
making sure that we don't have any holdouts coming from players that are not keeping their contracts? They're not honoring their contracts, right? When you have players that continuously don't honor their contracts, at some point you do have to ask, what is going on in the negotiations between you and the GM and the organ and the player, where not only that they're doing it, but they feel emboldened. They feel empowered to do it.
That's right.
Like, I just don't understand how much of the blame is John going to get for the Trey Lance situation, right? Were you a part of the organization that pushed for us to go up to 3 with no real plan in sight? I understand that we can easily put that on Kyle and say, well, Kyle's the one that called that. But as a GM, let's just say Kyle wasn't final saying word. Dude, you're derelict of duty. You put up that much assets and you didn't know what to do at 3? You're really questioning if that was your guy? On top of it, you couldn't corral your coach. All right, even if he's the one that hired you, you don't have a good working relationship with him on how he lambasted the rookie, played him all the time in positions that weren't favorable to him. The last year with Trey Lance was a disgrace. Disgusting. They did nothing for Trey to help him out with Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy on the field. That's on John. That is on John. Javon Hargrave is on John.
Yeah, probably.
All right? All right? What are we going to do with the D4 deal that never happened? That's on John. All right? So we got to figure out what's going to happen at some point. You know, I don't know. Is he a traditionally good GM? I understand. Take the goggles off of the situation, which is he's playing with one hand behind his back because his head coach hired him. So he wasn't traditionally acquired. I get that. But if you're looking at him just cards up on the table, is he a good GM?
So again, I think John Lynch is a good GM, and I think he'd be a better GM as far as roster building if he wasn't strapped down by Kyle. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's good at roster building at all. I think his process, the way he thinks about roster building, with the one exception of start with the D line and go out from there. I actually do like that concept, but I think that Kyle Shanahan is very, very bad at roster building. I don't think he's good. I think he understands talent. I don't think he's really good as far as roster construction. I think John Lynch is much better at that than Kyle Shanahan is.
Okay.
The last thing I'll say, because I don't want to get too bogged down here.
No, you're fine.
Part of it is I understand my own bias. I like John Lynch, so maybe I think he's the 10th best GM when he's actually like 18th or something. You know, like just my bias is elevating him. That's totally possible. I think that the 49ers are not going to fix their issues that they have as long as Kyle Shanahan is the primary person who's responsible for roster construction during the draft process.
Let's get to some more super chats. That's a 0187. If they had just, we already got to that one. Suki Smooth Smithers. Yep. That's the one that started this entire
That's when it started everything.
Savage AF 24. Do you think Kyle's relationship with Trent is why we haven't drafted his replacement? Yeah. And then also it's because Trent is really good.
Yep.
You know, but it does have a lot to do with it. You do feel like, you know, there's loyalty, there's trust in that relationship. We do have to find a world where we move on without Trent. And I don't know. We got it. I would love for them to just let him walk. Let him walk, bro. Go get the offensive line. We got guys here, you know. But truthfully, what they're really going to do is the Niners are going to leave the offensive line alone, and they're going to get a left guard. That's what they're going to do.
I don't even know if they're going to do that. I think there's at least a 50-50 chance they roll out this next season with Connor, Colby, Zakel, and some other low-budget free agent that they pick up, and they're going to let them fight it out in camp.
It's cheap-ass Niners, man. The 1099ers, man. Look, TVYT 143, Pinero is the most important player that's not being talked about right now.
Totally
We'd have a Super Bowl if we had him over Moody. That's true. They're playing tough ball with the guy that saved your bacon and covered up the stench dead body choice, which was your kicker in the 3rd round. And you got a nerve to be playing hardball with them.
Not to mention, won you a lot of games when your offense couldn't score.
Tacky ass Niners. Come on, man. And no class. Frisco Shields 499, thank you. Drafting could be based on Kyle Shanahan saying what he wants, artificially narrowing who ends up on the board, and then Kyle Shanahan picks from that list. Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel as though that he gets given a list or, you know, a curated list of what he's looking for. And this is what really sucks about that. This is what sucks about this is because it's so insecure. It's like, give me a list of what you want because there's a paper trail and it's like, oh, well, I only picked from what you guys gave me. So you guys must have been sitting back there. You must have gave me a bad batch because I didn't have enough to pick from. Where you look at other processes where like Sean McVay, he's literally asking the room, like, what do you guys want to do? We've all looked at the same guys. Like, the room split. Everybody vote right now. Like, I feel as though that if Kyle was obsessed with really finding the perfect guys, then he would go look at everybody himself. Case in point, this just came to me. You know why Deebo Samuel and Kyle are so close and tight? It's because Kyle actually had to go to the Senior Bowl and coach Deebo Samuel. Mm-hmm. We were the worst team in the league, and the worst team in the league has to go be coaches for the Senior Bowl. And the 49ers had to go down to Mobile, Alabama, and it freaking sucked, okay? And Kyle had to coach that team, and he met with Deebo Samuel. He actually got a chance to coach him one-on-one, get a feel for him, see him, scout him, head up, and he picked him and had a perfect plan for him in his offense. I just don't feel that the same energy is around this process, and it hasn't been around this process for a long time. And we're trying to point fingers, but the truth is that Kyle and John are both at fault. But if we're just talking about the GM, if we're just talking about the general manager position, John should go. That's how I feel. I want somebody with some balls, somebody that can stand up to Kyle. John should go, and he should go now while the 49ers are in this kind of like energy of decompartmentalizing the team, right?
Yeah.
Where they already took away the money side of things. They should do it now and just bring back a GM and be like, hey, Kyle, no, we haven't touched your team, but you just have a GM now who you didn't hire, who's going to
You report to him. He doesn't report to you.
Yeah, he's kind of going to be around, you know, kind of get with it, you know. So I really wish that would be the deal. Come on, man, my big guy, Mr. Big Twain, 499. Thank you. I hope you had something to say, man. Bill Wanger, FS1 admin. Should we draft Kombucha Jenkins, D-tackle in round 6? I've been looking at so many players. I haven't gotten to round 6 yet, man. Have you? Do you know this guy?
I don't.
We got to give him a look, man. Hey, what do you got for the rest of the week, bro?
I've got a video dropping. It'll either be tomorrow or the next day. My schedule got a little bit shifted around at work, so either tomorrow or the next day, I'll be doing a pod on what actually matters in the combine. What are what skills drills? What measurements? What are the things that actually translate to production on the field for players? And then next week we get deep into player analysis from the combine.
Hey, Niner Narrative, get over there and check out Chunder Boy, man. He's got a lot of good commentary and analytics for you. Tomorrow we got the coaches meeting with me and Grant. We back in the saddle, brother. Pause. But we're going to be going at 1 o'clock tomorrow Eastern. So I believe that's, 10 o'clock in a.m. Pacific time. And on Friday, me and Tom, another faithful review, because everybody wants to hear what Tom has to say about this Trent Williams situation. You know it's going to be from his perspective, too. You're going to get a little bit of history. You're going to get a little bit of real talk, some real salient points, right? Don't miss it. Tom is if you haven't been a part of the Faithful Review and listen to Tom Jensen give his point of view, you're missing out. This is the coach signing off. Stay low and keep your feet moving. Holla at you guys.